Well, good afternoon and welcome to today's Cabinet meeting of Melton Borough Council. Members are reminded that we will be using the audio-visual system this afternoon, and the meeting will also be streamed live on YouTube. Members are asked to physically raise their hands in the usual way to indicate they wish to speak and to use their microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. Please switch mobiles to silent. I will now provide a reminder of the evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of the meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record, or use social media at a council meeting. This must not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. We move on. Apologies for absence. I don't believe we have any at all. Thank you very much. To confirm the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 8th of February, I'm happy to move them and look to Councillor Bear.
I'm happy to second them, Mr. Leader. Thank you.
All okay with everyone? Thank you very much. Declarations of interest on any item on the agenda. I have a personal interest due to being a county councillor, and this is on record for any matters which relate to Leicestershire County Councils. Item 4, matters referred from Scrutiny Committee in accordance with the Scrutiny Procedure Rules. Has no items been referred from the Scrutiny Committee this month. So we move to the meat of the agenda, which is item 5, the cost of living update. So I turn to the Director for Housing and Communities to summarise the report.
Thank you very much. So as members will be aware, we've had a cost of living working group as a council and an action plan in place for some time. As you would expect, our response has evolved and adapted over time as we've learned more about the impacts of rising costs of living on our community, and it will continue to develop in that same way. The action plan continues to be centred around 3 key strands. So that's insight and evidence and using that to inform action, communication with residents, and also support. A summary of actions and achievements in line with each of those strands is set out at section 5 of your report, but I thought it would be helpful just to draw members' attention to some of their key achievements. So some of the key actions completed over the last few months. Development and approval of our evidence-led housing asset management plan, leading to a 5-year capital programme to invest in and improve council homes. And it's through listening to our tenants and working with our scrutiny committee that we've been able to accelerate progress on replacing storage heaters and aluminium windows that we know are really important to helping residents with rising costs of living. The Household Support Fund continues to be a real lifeline for our residents who are experiencing financial hardship. And as you will see at section 5.2.6 of your report, our teams have so far made almost 1,500 successful referrals to enable access to food and fuel vouchers for our residents. That's been a really, really important option there for them. Additionally, and importantly, all of those referred, even if they were not eligible to access that support, have had their needs assessed and access to other support arranged. Stakeholder engagement has also helped to shape proposals for a UK SPF funded project to enable enhanced access to household provisions across the borough, particularly in rural areas through a mobile solution. And subject to your approval this evening, we'll work with a portfolio holder to finalise a scope and progress a commissioning process to bring that project to life. We've successfully delivered a range of energy rebate and council tax support schemes with more to come, again, as set out in your report. And communication and engagement on cost of living has included attendance at a recent parish council liaison meeting, leaflets and posters within communities, our webpage, social media pages, and more targeted communications, including newsletters to council tenants, engagement with our tenant representatives on rent increases and options for a hardship fund to support them over the coming months. As you'll see at section 5.5, there are a range of things planned over the next 3 to 6 months, and we'll keep our action plan under review and adapt it based on emerging needs, learning from good practice from other areas as we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I turn to Councillor Graham, portfolio holder for people and communities, to provide any further information and introduction. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I'm pleased to provide this report to Cabinet this evening. It provides a summary of the work being done across the Council and with key partners to support our residents through the pressures created by the rising costs of living. As you will see from the report, as a Council, we've been proactive in reaching out to and supporting our communities in a range of ways, from enabling access to financial support, to providing advice and assistance, supporting community groups, and looking to the future to find ways to reduce household bills. For example, through the commitments within our recently approved Housing Asset Management Plan. The rising costs of living and associated implications create both an immediate risk and a longer-term challenge. There are no easy solutions, and the impacts of cost of living increases will be felt by many for some time to come. The Council should do all it can to support residents with their immediate needs. We must mitigate financial pressures for households, progress appropriate preventive solutions where possible to reduce household bills and costs, whilst also focusing on enabling prosperity in communities and reducing the risk and need for such interventions in the future. It is on the basis of immediate need that we propose to move forward with commissioning a service which will enable enhanced access to household provisions across the borough through a mobile solution, including improving access for rural communities. This was one of the strands of our UK Shared Prosperity Fund proposal. And as we move forward with this, we will continue to seek views and feedback from key partners to ensure we commission the right service to meet the needs of those who need it most. Finally, as portfolio holder, I am delighted to confirm that on the 16th of March, together with our partners, we will be hosting a community support and information day for residents to drop into Parkside. This will not just be about the cost of living, but there will be a range of partners and services available to assist residents who may need some information, advice, or support due to increased pressures on household finances. We will also look to repeat this event in a more rural location at a later date and look forward to welcoming residents, partners, and members on the 16th of March between 2 and 7 o'clock in the morning. I therefore have pleasure in moving recommendations 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Graham, for that recommendation. I'm very pleased to second the recommendations at 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. And just, well, to say the obvious, really, this is a worldwide problem. I was fortunate enough to be away a short while ago in a country of only 99,000 people, I think it was, and they were having their general election. And the whole election was based around the cost of living going up and hitting them dramatically. By the way, they in some of the places in that country, they weren't allowed to sell alcohol while the election was on, which is something a bit different. Inflation, it is easing a bit, there's no doubt about that, but very, very sadly, it's had a massive impact. And of course, the impact we've had doesn't go away. It's there forever now. It's built in, although it is just showing signs of slowing, which I'm sure we've noticed, at least from our petrol and diesel bills. But it's a major headache to the community. No doubt about that, and the whole country. I turn to any other members of Cabinet members who would like to speak in. Councillor Bindloss.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say I welcome the input information day that will be held next week. I think it's really important that we do that. And I did just wonder, are members aware of this? Are all members aware of this so that they can also drop in?
I'll look to an officer.
Mr. Leader, I sadly couldn't make the meeting today because I was in Harborough, but it has been a meeting day finalising things, And I'm pretty certain within the next day or so, notice will go out to all members saying exactly what format is. It's between 2 and 7 o'clock. And please, everybody come along who can.
Thank you for that.
Thanks. Any other comments to be made? Sue? Michelle, oh, sorry.
Just to give some assurance. So in the all member update, the portfolio holder update, we gave notice of the event. We've been doing a lot of social media communications. You'll see those really ramp up. We've been engaging with partners, and an all member email is due to go out with the final details, including the list of agencies that will be supporting us. We've now got that. We've got a brilliant range of organisations that will be here on the day. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay, the recommendation to 212223 has been moved by Councillor Graham, seconded by myself. All those in favour, please raise their hands. Unanimous. If democracy could note that, please. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 6, something else that's fairly topical in Old Alby Ward, I have to say, which is damp and mould policy. So I turn to the Director of Housing and Communities to summarise the report, please.
Thank you. So members will be aware that we have recently provided information and assurance to the regulator for social housing about our assessments of damp and mould within council homes and the action that we're taking to address and prevent this. We've also provided information to the Department for Levelling Up Communities and Local Government in relation to the private renters sector. We take this really seriously, and as a landlord and strategic housing authority, we have a really important role to play in keeping tenants safe in their homes. In January this year, a report was presented to our scrutiny committee and feedback has been provided to Cabinet at a previous meeting. The investments and work undertaken over the last few years, not least having a detailed understanding of the condition of our housing stock and a robust asset management plan and housing business plan, have enabled us to provide a robust and proactive response, and one that commits to supporting our tenants and listening to our tenants throughout. Whilst damp and mould and actions to address this effectively and to take steps to prevent it are included within the housing asset management plan, a specific damp and mould policy was also needed. This has been developed to provide clarity on our policy position, our commitments and our processes, and it explains the activities and responsibilities involved in the control of damp and mould in council homes. It sets out the council's reactive approach, but also our proactive and forward planning approach, and how we will communicate with and support our tenants. And the policy is shared this evening for your consideration as a Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I now turn to the portfolio holder, Councillor Brown, to move the recommendation, please, and any further information.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Happy to move the recommendation 2.1 to note, 2.2 to note, and 2.3 to approve the damp and mould policy for council homes. Just to basically say a few words is that one is that when we set out with this here, this isn't new work. Yes, unfortunately, we had the tragic situation that hit the media early in the year, and the work of Michael Gove, our housing minister, to try and put things right. But we have been looking at this for a long time as part of our asset management strategy and building up to that through our business plan. But the key message from us as an administration, from myself as a portfolio holder, is that our officers will be proactive and they will go out there and find it. It's not somebody come to us and we do something about it. It's actually we go and find the issues. We want people to report it. When people report it, we do something about it, and then we monitor it. Then once we're monitoring it, we follow it up, and that'll be done in a seasonal stages. So to make sure that the mould isn't returning as per seasonal weather, etc. We then communicate back to the tenant to tell them, it's either eradicated, it's being dealt with, or we need to do further work. Then we feed that all into how we're doing as a housing sector and learn from how others are actually doing things. Listening as we go along to our tenants. And then I, as portfolio holder, I'm receiving quarterly monitoring reports as to how many damp reports we're getting, what we're doing about them, and how effective the work that we're actually doing is actually having to those properties. And obviously, very importantly to our tenants and to our members to be aware of, is that obviously from April of this year, 23-24, we'll report any damp and mould issues going on forwards to the regulator as part of the regulatory framework, and any disrepair issues to the framework, etc. And what I would say to members is that we have these damp and mould issues in all our wards. So if our tenants do raise the issue, we take it seriously, we report it, and we make sure our officers do something about it, and the officers are quite clear as to what the expectations are there. So I'm really happy to move all the recommendations, and I'm really happy that we're actually putting this policy into place that will actually have a positive impact upon the health of our tenants and of their families. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brown. I'm very pleased to second the recommendation at 212223. And like I said, since it hit the press earlier, a few months ago, I've had quite a few people get in touch with me, tenants, and concerned about this. And in all cases, I've moved them on to Councillor Brown. And again, in all cases, I've never heard from the tenants again. That tells me the council's taken quick action and getting on top of the issue. And I do take this opportunity, if anybody cares to report this, to encourage all tenants who are suffering from this to report to the council immediately, and it will be sorted. Any other comments to be made? Nope. Okay, 212223 has been moved and seconded. All in favour, please raise their hands. Unanimous. Democracy noted. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7, the service leadership and collaboration, waste, environmental and maintenance and regulatory services. Put an extra hand in there. The Director for Housing and Communities to summarise the report. So over to you, Michelle, again.
Thank you. This report seeks Cabinet support to progress some operational changes for 2 key service areas, waste and environmental maintenance and regulatory services, and in both cases through a shared leadership arrangement with Harbour District Council. This will help us to create the strongest possible teams led by experienced professionals in services requiring technical knowledge and expertise. The proposals follow a vacancy management review through which a range of options have been explored to determine how best to lead and manage these key services, particularly as we enter a period of increased regulatory focus and legislative change. The rationale for the proposed shared leadership and collaboration arrangements in each of the service areas is set out at section 5 of your report. The proposals have been considered and approved by Harbour District Council at their Cabinet meeting earlier this week and are contained within existing budgets. It is proposed to transition to the revised arrangements from the 1st of April, and subject to Cabinet supporting proposals this evening, the necessary staffing related changes and actions would be carried out by the Chief Executive using his existing powers and delegations as Head of Paid Service. The respective service directors, so myself and the Director for Growth and Regeneration, will have oversight of the collaboration and service leadership arrangements, and a period of review is proposed which will allow for reflection on what is working well and options for future or continued collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I turn to Councillor Freer, Portfolio Holder for Climate Access and Engagement, to move the recommendation and any further information.
Thank you, Leader. As you know, the Council has a commitment to deliver excellent services that will positively impact our communities. And as part of this, it's important that we always look at the best, most efficient and cost-effective ways of delivering our services. It is on this basis that further to a vacancy management review, options for the most effective, efficient and resilient delivery of the Council's waste and environmental maintenance services function and regulatory services function have been considered, leading to the proposal before us today for a shared leadership approach across these services with Harbour District Council. For each of these key operational services, a service leadership and collaboration arrangement with a neighbouring authority is proposed to improve resilience, achieve better use of resources. The proposal also means that we'll have access to the right expertise, knowledge and skills in a key service area, which will give us greater resilience in service delivery, the ability to enhance our focus on things that matter to our communities, such as fly tipping, and also better enable a shared approach to preparations for legislative and regulatory change, including the potentially significant changes we have discussed already in approving the Leicestershire Resources and Waste Strategy and forthcoming changes to the regulation of the private rented sector. Subject to your approval this evening, our officer team will be tasked with making the necessary arrangements to move to implementation. We will also receive future updates on the arrangements, including as part of a review of the service collaboration outcomes over the next few months. Part of the report does list in section 6 the options that were considered, and section 9 the financial implications are listed out, and it confirms that we're doing a 6 months initially, and then this will be reviewed. At section 8 there are the next steps listed, and we know that our waste and environmental services has been one of the best, and I think people have been very complimentary on the way that our waste is collected through bank holidays, bad weather, etc. So it's important that we continue to improve and add to the resilience of this department. So I move to recommend to Cabinet that we approve the 2.1, 2.2, part 1 and 2, 2.3, 2.4, parts 1, 2, 3 and 4. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alison. And just have to say you're 100% right. People do appreciate our present agents, Biffa. I can remember when the COVID impact came in, 3 years ago now, isn't it? Especially down on just below me in Queensway area in Old Dalby, loads of stickers on windows saying thank you to dustbin guys and everything. It is a service that a lot of people will judge Melton Borough Council by how well and efficient their service operates. I understand from the Chief Executive, this paper, one very, very similar to it, went through the Harborough Cabinet last Monday, 2 days ago. So we're basically going in league with them, and it does show the importance to everyone of partnership working now. So I'm very happy to second 2122, 221, 222, 23, 24, 241, 242, 243, 244. Does anybody else have anything to? Not, I'll put it to favour. All those in favour, please raise their hands. Unanimous, if that could be noted by democracy, please. Thank you very much. We move on to item 8, risk management update. So I turn to the Director for Corporate Services to summarise the report. Over to you, Dawn.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. So the report produces an update on the Council's strategic risk register, and in line with the council, which is in line with the Council's performance and risk management framework. So this is provided biannually to both Cabinet and also to the Audit and Standards Committee, who will be looking at a similar report later this month. The detail of those risks in the strategic risk register are all set out in the appendix, along with consequences, mitigating actions, and where the target risk score, which is where we would hope to get to following the introduction of those actions. I won't go through those in detail, but the highlights are set out in the covering report, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. It falls to me to move the recommendation. Just have a few points to make. That we have 11 risks on our strategic risk register. Some of those it is difficult to influence directly, such as devolution and delivery of the MMDR, but we do what we can in terms of working with partners and lobbying. Others we are able to manage very effectively and reduce the risk. It is always pleasing to see risks reducing and moving off the strategic register, such as the housing business plan, where significant work has been undertaken, resulting in the risk moving back to the Directorate risk registered, and is testament to all the hard work that has been undertaken in this area. We are an ambitious council, and therefore there will always be new risks associated with new ventures, such as Levelling Up Fund and the UK SPF. We should not be avoiding such risks, but recognising and taking steps to manage these, as is shown through the inclusion of new risks relating to these projects that has been added to the register. The report demonstrates the good grip that we continue to have on risk management as a council. I turn to Councillor Graham to second the recommendation.
Leader, I have pleasure in seconding those. Thank you.
Any comments from anyone? Just to point out, recommendation is to note the content of the report and the updated strategic risk register and associated risk management action plan as attached to Appendix A. So noted. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 9, levelling up the Director for Growth and Regeneration to summarise the report. Over to you.
Thank you, Leader. We all heard about the good news of being successful in our joint bid with Rutland Council on a levelling up funding for £23 million to deliver transformational projects to change our economy in both these rural towns of Oakham and Melton Mowbray. As you know, with any good news and success stories comes the responsibility of delivery, and now we are in that timescales. The delivery on this is going to be quite crucial. One, we have to make sure that we abide by the grant conditions and in compliance with the policies and procedures of our councils. But also we need to deliver on the promise that we made in the bid and make sure that all the benefits that the projects are promised to deliver for our communities and businesses are actually delivered and in time and within the budgets that we have promised. So what this report today does, which is in front of you, is to look at, well, for members to understand what exactly is in front of us in terms of acceptance of money, what are the key financial and legal risks involved in going forward with the delivery, and what the council is planning to do for mobilization of the project and delivery over the next coming months. So as identified in paragraph 4.6, you can see that there's £23 million total allocation for projects delivery across both councils, Rutland as well as Melton, out of which 5.5 million are the projects being delivered in Rutland area and 12.1 million of projects within Melton area, with 6.5 million of project on delivering a demand responsive transport service across both areas, which will be led by the Rutland County Council. Now, looking at out of the Melton's allocation of 12 million, there are two projects. 10.1 million of grant funding is allocated towards the Stockyard project, which will be directly delivered by the council. And 2 million is part of the theatre refurbishment work that will be delivered by the SMB group in Melton. As the Rutland County Council is the accountable body for the bid, and that's why they will be entering into a memorandum of understanding with the government by 6th of April, which is the deadline set by the government currently. But this is subject to Rutland County Council's council approval on the 27th of March. In order for the county council to receive that money, we will be entering into an agreement with the county council to receive the £12 million allocation for Melton projects and to accept the risks and responsibilities that come with that money. Also, in concurrence with that, we will be also entering into another agreement with the SMB group for their share of 2 million grant money, which will be passed on to the group for delivery of their project. Now, the governance arrangements for this, for the whole work and the delivery of the whole bid is going to be quite critical. Again, Rutland County Council, being the accountable body, will be responsible for reporting back to the government on the whole of the program across both areas. And it is proposed to have a joint levelling up executive board chaired by Rutland County Council, but attended by the leader, the portfolio holders, the chief exec and chief officers of both councils. that this will provide assurance to the government and to both councils on the delivery of the projects in compliance with both grant conditions as well as respective councils' policies and procedures. The Melton Council will be responsible directly for the Stockyard project. Of course, this includes the delivery of the food production units, the multipurpose event space, and the infrastructure for accessible and sustainable development of various events program around the year. The match funding is required, as you can see from the grant condition, 10% match funding is required from the council, and this is proposed to be funded via 1 million via capital receipts, which will be generated through the sale of the North Cattle Market site, which is currently being undertaken. So £1 million from that sale is proposed to be earmarked and ring-fenced as part of the match funding requirement. There is a further requirement for revenue funding of 250,000, which will be towards the promotional marketing and administration of the projects going forward, and that is proposed to be funded via some of it via UK SPF projects as well as the staff time from the council's officers. There are legal and financial risks identified, and there are a lot of them in paragraph 5.6.2, and there is a very clear mitigation risk management approach identified for each one of them. There are wider program related risks identified in section 15 of the risk and mitigation section of the report. And again, there's a clear mitigation plan attached to it. So in summary, yes, there is good projects to be delivered through this very exciting opportunity. But what this report suggests is that we have got plans in place to make sure we deliver responsibly and we deliver in compliance with all the right policies and procedures. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Panani. I turn to the portfolio holder for growth and prosperity, Councillor Bindloss, to move the recommendation and provide an introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Members, this is, as we all know, a very well-read subject, and as such, I therefore do not propose to cover the preamble of this paper in any great depth. Much of the relevance of this paper is about the governance of its funding, how it will meet its targets, being aware of the risks, being alert to these risks, ensuring that we can, in a timely manner, all of which is set out before us. I would, however, start by saying that this level of funding provides great opportunities for our town and borough and residents alike. It becomes even more powerful when coupled with the UK SPF funding, also recently granted to us, and it gives us, both our town and our borough, a real boost. Just to go over these again, some of the headline benefits that this funding will deliver: 183 jobs will be created, up to 20,000 square feet of new employment space, 100,000 square feet of updated outdoor event space, up to 16 new food production units, an additional 9.2 GVA to the local economy, million to the local economy, a predicted 7,000 weekly market visitors. All of these of the above, and of course more will be much possible. However, it is correct that we consider the issues and risks set before us today. In addition to the points I've already mentioned, and not least of all, we must consider the logistics of delivery within the proposal, how it will be monitored, both by ourselves, our partner, Rutland County Council, who will also be the accountable body, and of course, the Department for Levelling It Up itself. We need to understand how all this additional work will fit within the framework we currently have, and where further support will be needed to help deliver this. Members, our officers have worked both between themselves and with partners in Rutland to address all of the above and to highlight the issues relative to this, ensuring that all events are covered and that we can meet the milestones set before us and that there are no surprises up front. And most importantly, that we can deliver to Melton something that was originally a vision and turn it into a reality. Members, I ask therefore that you support and approve the recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.31, 2.32, 2.33, 2.34, 2.35, 2.41, 2.42, and 2.43. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bindloss. If you're looking for post-COVID reaction to get over the crisis that we have faced over the last 3 years, I think Melton Mowbray must be one of the best places you can visit. We have the success of the Levelling Up Fund, which is going to bring massive life back to the town. There's no doubt about that, because people visiting the stockyard will feed into the town. The theatre, that will aid the night economy. And then, of course, on top of that, in the Rutland County Council bid for bus service, the people to the south of the town will be able to use that demand transport service as well. So it seems to be a win-win. Now, you put that all together with the MMDR, there's some growth coming to Melton, there's no doubt about that. And that's what we've been working for, and it's finally getting to the delivery stage. Councillor Bindloss has moved the recommendation. I'm pleased to second them. Does anybody want to say anything? Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I think it's really good news. The one question, really, demand responsive transport connection to be delivered by Rutland County Council, working in partnership with Melton Borough Council. As the leader has said, this affects the South Bar Borough, including the parish councils. And I would just like to feel that when we're talking to Rutland County Council, we bear in mind the parish council input as well, because I think it could be useful. Thank you.
Yes, I don't see any reason why that we shouldn't do that. That's a perfectly reasonable thing. You know, I think that link, those links will be very, very important and cement a relationship between ourselves and Oakham and Rutland. So I think it's important. And yes, I think that everybody should be involved in this. This is something that we should all take ownership of in some way or shape. So thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, obviously, I fully support everything in the document. Just a couple of things I just want to clarify, just to make sure that we're being as transparent as we need to be with the public, if that's okay. Following on from what Councillor Graham has said, just like to clarify the villages which the transport will go to, where it lands. So my village just go to the Ferry West, as does Councillor Graham, so it goes out to Hobie, Wymondham that way. So just want to see how far it comes that way. That's my first question. I'll do the questions then if you can answer me, both of you. Second question is, I presume that because it's such a big project, it will be part of an audit plan and it'll be some way scrutinised as we go along, just to give people asking that question. I presume it is. Thirdly, have we building costs, obviously working in the construction end of things myself, are we stress testing as we're going along the costs and the mitigations? I see it as a risk in the document there as well. And my final question is, I presume that if we have an increased income, and I expect us to have quite a significant increased income into the capital market, that Melton Borough Council should benefit significantly. Can we just clarify those questions, please?
I believe I'm right in saying, in fact, no, I've seen it, that there is a map. I haven't got it with me, but there is a map that actually shows all the villages that the buses stop at. I can't tell you all of them. I know it stops at Great Dolby, but I'm not quite sure of all of them. But there is certainly a map. I don't know if Penali's got that map or has got ingrained in her memory as to where it is going.
So yes, Councillor Binlos is absolutely right. There is a conceptual diagram showing where the route could possibly go, but there are a fair amount of details yet to be worked out on that. So no, exactly, we don't know which villages it will pass
So just to go
through.
back in there, Penally, so
Yeah.
we could, are we as members able to feed into that with our parishes? The reason I ask is myself and Councillor Orshan have been in dialogue with some of the villages at the south. That's the reason I ask.
Yes, yeah, there will be need to be further engagement with members as well as parishes in
That's clear.
developing
Thanks for
that
the
further.
clarification.
Yeah.
on that one.
Don't believe there's any other questions, but Ed, Chief Executive, sorry.
Yeah, just to briefly respond to the points about audit. So it's certainly built into the draft internal audit plan, this and the UK Share Prosperity Fund. And it's also, I believe, due to be considered at the audit committee meeting on the 28th of March as well. I believe the leader and portfolio holder are due to attend along with relevant officers to discuss it. So very much part of our thinking about getting the governance right in the way the directors referred to.
The question around the costs for construction costs. So yes, very much aware that since we submitted the bid, things are changing and it will still continue to change until it actually gets delivered. That risk is very much considered. But even before we agree with the government, the spend profile for the whole project, we are going to be reviewing the costs so that we can go, we can submit the latest findings to the government, with a caveat that we will have to keep an eye on it. The last question about the cost and income from the increased. Yes, and that's definitely something we will need to add into the wider cash profiling going forward. But of course, additional units, commercial units will generate additional income. It's how much we still, we are yet to be determining that. But yes, that's added.
Just before we move to the vote, I'd just like to add that Councillor Brown and I have been lobbied by parishioners to the south of the town. So it's a hot topic to them, shall we say. And I think this is going to help out a lot. Obviously, the details got to be thrashed out, but I can tell you now, a lot of people are waiting for the news on how it's actually going to be delivered on the ground. And also, I have to say thank you to Alicia Kearns, our MP. She must be just about the most effective MP in the whole country in the Houses of Parliament on local issues. She really has delivered as well as for us on this one. There's no doubt about that. She's pushed all the right buttons. And how many people got this fund in the East Midlands, Ed? Oh, is only one or two?
I think it was 11 in total. I think it was 111 across the country, but we were, I think, out of 550 bids. We were one of 111. I think it was 11 in the East Midlands in total.
So that goes to show how effectively Alicia has been working down at Westminster. And also to say thank you to all the officers, because these bids don't just happen overnight, do they? There's a lot of planning, a lot of hard work. And I see we've got Lee with us at the back there, and obviously Penally. And if you could relay through myself out the thanks from the cabinet to all your team, Penally and Lee, and thank you to you too personally as well. That would be great. So thank you very much. Now, the recommendations have been moved at 2122, 23, 231, 232, 233, 234, 235, 24, 241, 242, 243. I second. We move to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous democracy. Thank you very much. We now move on to item 10, the disposal of Cemetery Lodge. So I invite the Director of Growth and Regeneration to summarise the report. Over to you, Penally. Thank you.
So councillors, you are aware that we have started a program of rationalization and development of all our properties and assets within our council's corporate assets portfolio. As part of that assessment, we are looking at how we can use our buildings and properties to achieve the best results for delivering services for our communities. Is there any potential for generating income? And if not, then how we look at disposal to generate capital receipts, which then can be reinvested in achieving the wider corporate priorities. So this report is an outcome of an assessment on Cemetery Lodge, which is situated at the entrance of the cemetery on Thorpe Road in Melton Mowbray. The building is about 100 years old, and it was used as a council offices previously, but then latterly used as a residential letting. But since April 21, it has been vacant, and there have been some work done to alleviate the issues and the damage caused by damp. But those issues have now been resolved. We have looked at what could be the future potential for the building, including the change of use, continuing it as a part of our portfolio to continue our service delivery from the building, or looking at future development options. And the best option in front of you, what we are proposing today, is that of disposal. Now, to achieve the disposal, of course, there needs to be a bit of work done in terms of separating the access as well as utilities from the building, and also in line with the asset disposal policy, there will need to be undertaken an objective independent valuation for the property. That will help in agreeing a guide price for the sale, but the proposal is to go undertake the disposal via an auction. The auction, of course, we will need to agree a reserve price so that we maintain the best possible value that could be achieved through this process. It is proposed that this special expense property and any disposal, the capital receipt would be generated. That should be ring-fenced within the special expense funding, and particularly ring-fenced for the work we need to do for developing the future capacity of cemetery going forward. So yeah, the recommendation is for disposal via auction in spring. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pranali. I turn to Councillor Bindlos, portfolio holder for Growth and Prosperity, to move the recommendation and provide any further.
Thank you, Leader. Members, I'm not going to spend a massive amount of time on this one, to be fair. A lot of it's already been said, and I may say some of that again. I pass the Cemetery Lodge on a daily basis, and I have to say, you know, it really is indeed a fine-looking building. And as Pranali rightly says, it's been around for over 100 years. Until recently, it's been let out by us on an assured short hold tenancy, an AST, and brought us in a monthly rental. However, we are no longer able to offer this property as an AST, and it would indeed not be correct for us to do so as an authority. Equally, we are unable, due to the age of the property and other associated factors, to add this to our own portfolio of houses. The other considered option would be to change it from residential to commercial, but this too was just by nature of the location of the property, it wouldn't be appropriate to do that. However, something needs to be done with the property, as leaving it vacant, as we all know, continues to cost us money in maintenance, etc. We therefore consider that the best option clearly is to dispose of the site as proposed in the paper before you, namely by auction, once the necessary work to make it a standalone property has been completed, of course. Members, I ask therefore that you support the recommendations 2.1 and 2.2, enabling the property to be disposed of. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bindlos. I'm very pleased to second 2122 recommendation. Yeah, it's a building, historic merit, no doubt about it. It stands out. I suppose it stands out a bit because there's nothing immediately around it, but even so, it's a very attractive building. I fully approve that it does go to auction, because I just don't know how you would value a property like that. And the best valuer has to be the person with the highest bid. And so I definitely approve of that. It's right to dispose of it. It is costing money, and all homes should be lived in at the end of the day. I hate to see empty houses wherever they are. So it'd be good to see it. And hopefully it will attract a buyer, and they'll love and look after it, because like I say, it really is a historic house on Thorpe Road. So I turn to the rest of the cabinet. You got anything to say at all? Looking around. If not, I will take this to the vote. Recommendations moved at 2122. All in favour? Unanimous. Noted. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 11, allocation of the community grants 2023-24. The Director for Housing and Communities to summarise the report. So over to you, Michelle.
Thank you. So further to council approval of the budget, we have been able to conclude the assessment and provisional awards of community grants for 23-24. The policy was updated earlier this year to increase the reach of the policy and to enable external funding sources to be incorporated in appropriate circumstances. This has enabled the panel to award additional grants this year through funding from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and in doing so has enabled a wide range of projects and organisations to be supported, from sports clubs to village projects to debt advice services, community support for older residents, to daycare services to provide respite for carers, health screening hubs, and also whilst creating budget availability for a one-off coronation grant scheme. There will be increased monitoring of outcomes in the scheme this year to ensure compliance with UK SPF monitoring requirements, which will enable a best practice approach to monitoring activity across all grant-funded activities. Subject to your approval this evening, our teams will finalise and arrange for community grants to be paid to successful applicants, and working with our portfolio holder, will assess and award coronation grant applications to enable communities across the borough to celebrate the coronation of King Charles III. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Invite the portfolio holder for climate access and engagement, Councillor Freer, to move the recommendation, please, and any further info.
Thank you, Leader. This is probably my favourite time of year when we talk about community grants, because we are awarding money to really good organisations that have an impact on the communities around them and the community and the residents of Melton and the borough of Melton. This year has been another unique year in the allocation of our community grants, as we sought to add value from and harmonise with elements of the UK SPF. It was really enjoyable to go through. We go through the applications on a case-by-case basis, and having that extra funding that we got from the UK SPF enabled us to do a lot more and reach a lot further than we have done in previous years. Including the UK SPF as part of this year's community grants process requires us to implement more robust and formal reporting mechanisms on how the grant has been utilised by recipients. As some organisations may receive grant funding from both sources, and as good practice, we will be adopting this reporting process across all grant recipients. Once again, we see a wide and diverse range of services benefit from the scheme and are able to demonstrate a transparent, fair and robust allocation process. And finally, it's really good news that we can offer, like we did with the Platinum Jubilee last year, that we've got an additional amount of money to do a one-off coronation grant scheme to enable communities across Melton to celebrate the coronation of King Charles III, another historic event to pull the community together. At section 5.8, you will see the allocations that came from the community grants pot. And then at Appendix A, we'll list all the applications and how that money was awarded and what the projects were. Section 9 lists the amounts we have spent, and the remainder is around about £8,000 that we're putting forward to the King's coronation. Last year, the Platinum Jubilee last year, we were able to fund lots of villages and community projects to celebrate the Platinum Jubilee. And I would imagine, I know that we will do the same this year with the coronation grant scheme. Thank you. And most importantly, I recommend to Cabinet that we approve 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alison. I'm very happy to second your proposal at 212223. I haven't got a lot to say. I think between you said it all, but just to confirm, certainly in the villages, they are beginning to plan ready for, is it May the 6th, the coronation? It is May the 6th, the coronation. So another fun-filled weekend, and then we have the Monday off as well, don't we? So, but before that, the officers of this council got to run an election. But anyway, so I've moved it and seconded it. Any comments, Mali? No? Okay, all those in favour, please raise their hands. Unanimous, please noted. Thank you very much. Item 12, UK SPF investment plan update. I invite Director of Growth and Regeneration to summarise the report, please.
Thank you, Leader. UK SPF investment plan is another one like the Levelling Up Fund. We got confirmation in December last year of this £1.2 million grant funding from the government. We have already started the mobilization work, and as you can see from the report, a fair amount of work has already been done. But the most important thing we have done is appointed Lee Byrne as the Assistant Director for specifically responsible for UK SPF delivery. I will leave you to Lee to present the report and give us the detail and update on the progress so far.
Not a Sorry, Lee, I was miles away. I could have sworn you walked out that door, to be honest. Yes, my fault.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll try and keep the what is a fairly lengthy report brief. Ultimately, the report gives kind of oversight on the work done to date and to secure the funding, but also an update on the work done since it was secured in December time to mobilise. As members will have heard in today's meeting already, the UK SPF is starting to impact our local communities, whether it be through the cost of living support or the community grants, but there is more to do. I think what I'd like to do is draw members' attention to section 5 of the report, predominantly to give assurance around the work that's been done to date in regards to governance and oversight, in regards to how we're going to be responsible for this funding and adhere to our numerous responsibilities as the accountable body for this programme. The governance has been set up and agreed, and I think a key point of this is that there will be a local advisory board made up of partners and stakeholders who will enable us to ensure that we continue to have local impact and meet the challenges of most need in our communities. To that means they will change over the next 2 years. We expect them to change over the next 2 years. So it's only right and proper that we continue to speak to our local communities and our stakeholders to ensure that we continue to have as much impact as possible. Moving further down, sorry, to highlight in regards to the first year's worth of delivery. As I've identified, there is some delivery already underway, and we are looking to mobilise those projects that we're committed to deliver in the first year to give government assurance that we can spend those, if not this year, in the next financial year, due to the original delays in the announcing of the funding through to us. Following the meeting of the first programme delivery group with all the intervention leads and wider support services, we've looked at those first year's interventions, and we're comfortable that we can submit a credible plan of delivery to government by March the 17th to give government the assurance that we'll be able to deliver this and next year's activities in the relevant timescales. Furthermore to that, as I mentioned earlier, there has already been significant consultation undertaken to date to inform that investment plan, just to give members assurance that as part of this next 2 years worth of delivery, that communication will be ongoing, not just with the local advisory board to inform the decisions that we make in regards to changes, but also with recipients of these interventions and also any third-party delivery bodies to ensure that they continue to meet local need. Should there be any required changes to the programme, the appropriate mechanisms will be followed to get those agreements from government in good time to enable us to deliver everything that we've said that we'll deliver by the end of the programme in March 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liam. Please accept my apologies, but I still saw you go through that door. Don't know what happened at all. I now turn definitely to Councillor Bindlos, the portfolio holder, to introduce further this report.
Thank you, Leader. Members, just like item 9, this too is a very well-read piece of work. The UK SPF funding is born from, among other things, the vision of partners, stakeholders and workshops held over the last 2 years. It's now set to start delivering the programmes. Indeed, some have already begun, as we've already heard. The benefits from this will be seen both in the support of our town centre and the rural borough alike. We are the accountable body for this programme, and as such, we have significant responsibility to make sure that the funding is spent appropriately and in accordance with the parameters of the UK SPF requirements. To meet these levels of responsibility, and very much like the earlier report, we must now ensure that we meet the timelines and milestones set before us, and that we maximise the benefits afforded by this funding to local businesses and community groups alike. To this end, and as the report suggests, we must be confident and assured that all the required governance is in place to mobilise the projects. And it's good to see that the levels of monitoring are indeed already in place to do just this. An example of which, and one that I welcome, is reference 7.2, page 94. Which confirms that there will be ongoing monitoring and consultation with local organisations, stakeholders and delivery partners. In addition to this, we will shortly be setting up a local advisory board made up of local stakeholders and partners to help us evaluate the delivery of this programme and how it's progressing. I'm sure that the level of work and demand is already growing. For example, the community grant scheme is being enhanced and expanded. Already a great result that benefits community groups, as Alison has already alluded to. We're already aware that significant levels of help through the investment have been identified for the town centre and its businesses in many different guises. Similarly, we know that the support is needed throughout the borough to address, when necessary, examples such as the cost of living support, and this too is something that is already being worked upon. Members, these are genuinely exciting times, and we look forward to making a positive difference over the next 2 years. As such, I ask that you support the recommendations before you, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 and 2.4. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rob. Happy to second 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. Haven't got a lot to say actually, but it is good to note in 5.3.1 and 5.4.1. Well, 5.3.1 is working with Harborough. That is excellent. It goes to show the effectiveness and partnership, how we can make our pound go further all the time. And also in 5.4.1 that all the districts and boroughs in Leicestershire have agreed to come together and pool their fund relating to the business support activities from the second year. So it just shows the strength of the districts working with Harborough and working with all the others as well. Are there any other Ronan?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask a question. I'm just going to ask just to clarify for us here at Cabinet Leader and also for members of the public that's watching. I think it's been a very hot topic on social media, and I think that maybe it's been misconstrued a little bit what we're trying to do. So just so I'm absolutely clear and for the public and reading this report, is that this is going to help us deliver further investment in Melton Mowbray Town Centre, further investment to local businesses, both in the town centre and rural. it's also going to help businesses that have struggled through with energy, etc. And you're going to work over the next 12 months to make sure that that's in a place where we can actually deliver that locally. And then in addition to that, we are going to improve the street scene at the town centre. And could I just have that confirmed, just so that we're absolutely clear, because I think to move away any misconstrued or misillusions that this money is going to not go into those things, please.
Just the short answer, the simple answer to that is, of course, yes. But I will ask Lee to just elaborate upon that.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Councillor. Like Rob says, in short, absolutely, there are interventions within the plan that was submitted to government that tick all those boxes around street scene, business grants to support with numerous different criteria, and you know, just to reiterate what Councillor Binlos identified earlier, those interventions were put in on the back of significant consultation, and were detailed to us by local stakeholders as something that was of great need in Melton Borough area. One thing that I should also mention is, obviously, whilst we're not in a position to kind of confirm anything at this point in time, DEFRA did announce the Rural England Prosperity Fund, which will also go further to supporting those measures in regards to business support and wider community support in the borough as well.
Thanks very much, Councillor Brown. I'm hoping that if the Melton Times are watching this, which they will do, I suspect, at some point, they pick up on those points, and maybe when they publish it on their Facebook and Twitter accounts, it will get the comments, more favourable comments than what we have been getting, shall we say, on this one, when they realise the good this money is going to do, especially for the town centre. Now, we've had the recommendation moved and seconded by myself. I ask you all to raise your hands in the air for those in favour. Thank you very much, unanimous. Moving on to the last item of the day, which is called leisure procurement, another hot topic. So I do invite the, who's the officer? I've lost my way now. Michelle, to introduce. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So members, as the report says, the council's leisure facilities are operated by an external partner through a contract management arrangement. This contract ends at the end of March next year, and a procurement process is required to enable a new contract from April 2024. The procurement process would be guided by a procurement framework, which is an evidence-led document which seeks to achieve a balance between supporting the council's aspirations to provide high-quality leisure and physical activity services with financial and social value requirements, whilst also ensuring the opportunity is attractive to the leisure market. The leisure procurement framework itself is commercially sensitive in nature and therefore forms an exempt appendix to your report. Subject to your approval to the recommendations this evening, our teams will finalise the procurement documentation and commence this process. There are some key milestones ahead, including evaluation of initial tender submissions in June 2023, evaluation of second stage submissions by the end of October 2023, and identification of a preferred operator around November 2023. An award of the contracts would ultimately be a council decision. The project will be led by a team of colleagues from across the council, will be supported throughout by sector experts and legal specialists to ensure that we can deliver a complex procurement successfully. Thank you.
Before the invite the recommendation to be moved, I would just like to remind everyone that this item contains an exempt appendix. However, we will only go into exempt session if members wish to discuss anything that is exclusively mentioned within the appendix. If we do go into exempt session, there will be a short pause while Democratic Services ensure we are not broadcasting. So at this point, I now invite portfolio holder for housing, for people and communities, Councillor Graham, to move the recommendation and provide an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Leisure is a big part of people's lives and has a huge benefit for people's physical and mental health. Ensuring there are high quality local facilities available to those in our community is important. And I am pleased to present this report to Cabinet this evening. Our current contract for the operation of a council's leisure facilities will come to an end on the 31st of March 2024. And this report marks a key step in enabling a procurement process to commence, to make arrangements for a suitable provider, to continue providing high quality, value for money services to the community from the 1st of April 2024. I'm pleased to support this, and our teams are busy in the background preparing to mobilize the procurement process later this month, subject to your approval this evening. And I therefore have pleasure in moving recommendations 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to second 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Yeah, it's a key paper. It's a relatively short paper, other than the appendix, of course, but it's a paper that we are going out to procurement, and it does show how active we are in this step. It is a step, has it been included? I think Councillor Brown wants to say a word, or you don't? No.
Just again is that, yeah, thanks, Councillor Graham, really support this. Again, it shows again that we're listening to the public. This is something that we've heard on the doorstep, and we're actually going to look at trying to ensure we've got good leisure facilities going forward. So thanks for moving this and bringing this forward.
Yep.
It's certainly a paper that proves this council is delivering, and that's what people want on the doorstep, of course. Any other comments to be made by any other cabinet members? If not, the recommendations moved to 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. All those in favour, please raise their hands. Unanimous and noted by democracy, which brings us to the end of today's cabinet meeting. So thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to the officers preparing the papers, and thank you to my colleagues for attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leader.